So what's in this course now? What will you learn in this course? We're almost done getting started, and therefore with this basic module where, well, we set everything up and you get a rough idea of what React Native is and how it works. After this, we'll of course have a very important module where we dive into the React Native basics. In this module, you'll learn all the core fundamentals you need to know about React Native, how these apps work, how you work with React Native components, how you build your own components, how you make that all work as a native app, which you can test on your emulators or real devices. All of that is in this super important module. Now, after all these core basics, which are really important, we'll also have a look at debugging. How can you track down errors? Which tools are there to help you with debugging? These are all questions we'll tackle in the debugging module. Now, thereafter, we'll dive back into the basics, but into the advanced basics, if you want to call it like this. We'll have a look at how you build real apps, how you style apps, which different options you have there, how you work with all these components that are baked into React Native and with your own components that you can build based on those, how you lay out your apps. So here, we'll really bring together many concepts and compose that all in a more realistic app, which does more useful things, and where we'll need to tackle certain problems you have to tackle in real apps. So that's another core module for you to learn how React Native works and how React Native apps are built. Now, once we completed this module, we'll have a solid understanding of all these fundamentals, but there will be one problem. Up to this point, the apps we built thus far are not really flexible, they're not really adapting to different screen sizes, and there might be differences between iOS or Android regarding how apps should look like or how certain things should behave, which we don't really cater for. Therefore, we'll then have a module where we dive into how to build responsive and adaptive apps. So how you make sure that your apps look great and work the way they should work on different devices, different device sizes, and also on different platforms, so on Android and iOS. And how you can use one project and one code base to still fine-tune your app to different platforms in certain areas. Now, after all of that, you'll have very solid fundamentals, but we'll also only have worked on apps that have mostly one screen. Now, in most apps, you have tabs, you have a side drawer, you can navigate forth and back between different pages, and you have nice transitions and animations for these navigation actions. And therefore, we'll have a whole module dedicated to navigation and how you can build navigation into your app, how you can provide beautiful transitions, how you can add tabs, different kinds of tabs to your application, and all these core techniques and things that you need in most applications you're going to build. Now, by then, we'll also have a feeling for a problem that managing state, managing data in our application can be tricky as our application grows. And therefore, we'll then have a whole module where we dive into how to manage state with the help of Redux and how you can pass data around in your application. After all of that, it's really time to practice, and therefore, we'll have a whole module where we build a brand new application from scratch where we incorporate all the things we learned thus far. That's a module where you can practice this on your own, or you just follow along with me, or you practice first and then compare your solution to mine. So it's a big practice module where all these core things we learned about come together and can be seen in practice. Now, after that, we'll take that same app and enhance it, for example, by handling user input in a better way, by validating it, by showing error messages, by making sure that our app has certain data criteria that needs to be fulfilled before we can continue, and so on. So that's another core module because, of course, in many applications, you'll need to gather user input. Now, thereafter, we'll also leave our application in a certain sense because we'll learn how to send data to a server and store it on that server in a database. Of course, that's another crucial task because not all data lives on your device. Instead, there is some data that needs to be shared with other users, for example, or that should be backed up, or that should be available even if users reinstall your app. And for all of that, that data needs to be stored away from your app. It needs to be stored on a server, it needs to be stored in a database, and that's exactly what we'll have a look at in this HTTP requests module. Now, speaking of servers and so on, Many applications also need user authentication. You need to be able to sign users up and log them in, log them out, manage their session, and that's exactly what we'll have a detailed look at in the user authentication section, another core section with another core feature that you need in many applications, and we'll have a detailed look at all of that in this module. After this module, you'll have a lot of core building blocks you need for apps you typically build, but one thing will be missing. And that's how you tap into native device features, how you can use the device camera, how you can get the user location, or how you can use Google Maps. And that's what we'll have a look at in this native device features module. You will learn how you can get the user location, how you can use it, how you can store it on an on-device SQLite database. All that fun stuff is in this module, and therefore this is another crucial module, of course. Now thereafter, I'll dive into different ways of building your React Native app, because for the majority of this course, we actually use Expo, the tool we got started with in this first course module, because it makes building React Native apps such a breeze. It's such fun, it's easier, and therefore definitely my recommended approach. But you might not always want to use it. And in this module, I explain when you might not want to use it and how you then build apps without it. Though I can already have a little spoiler at this point, for most applications, the vast majority, Expo is an amazing tool, and also important, really important, all what you'll learn in this course can be applied to Expo and non-Expo apps. And I make that clear in this different workflows module as well. And I show how non-Expo works work and how you write code for them. And surprise, it's exactly the same as you learn in the rest of the course, basically. Now, thereafter, we of course aren't really there to just build an app and then throw it away. Instead, you typically want to publish it. So I'll have a whole module focusing on how you publish apps, and we'll not just have a look at how you build it and how you then get it into the App Store. We also will have a look at over-the-air updates, for example, how you can automatically update the installed apps without forcing your users to re-download an updated version, which is really amazing. So that's also covered in this module. A lot of content. All these modules, of course, are extremely detailed. You'll get tons of knowledge about React Native, and by the end of the course, you'll be able to build amazing React Native applications.